'Tis that time of year again where us British transition from complaining about the hot weather to complaining about the rain again. So that can only mean Halloween. And like I mentioned last year, I held out on this one last year because I didn't want to oversaturate this channel with games from Wanadu Edition. But they're here again because they just won't leave me alone. Castleween is not a European exclusive this time, although there was no PS2 version in the US, and it wasn't called that there anyway. It's the victim of another pointless name change. Spells and Spirits. Though a perfectly apt title, I really see no need to do this. In Japan it's called Mohau no Pumpkin. Oh my god, that is freaking adorable, why doesn't mine look like that? The main title's text is too stylized for Google Translate, but the subtitle might work. Let's see now. Andi's Reservoir Big Adventure Hard and Greg the, Shion and Greg Large, and Greg Dog. So in summation, something about Greg and large reservoir dogs. The PS2 version was released in December of 2002, because nothing says Merry Christmas like a Halloween game. A game by Callisto Entertainment. Is this another first? No, a last for a change. After a decade of somewhat moderately recognisable titles, Callisto shut up shop shortly after finishing Castleween. So let's pay a tribute to Callisto by taking a look at their swan song.
Halloween. Halloween is the time for all kinds of weird and wonderful adventures.
Our tale begins with a classic narrated storybook opening, by a voice actor I couldn't find any information on, but he sounds awfully lot like Horatio.
Destroy the floating cells to complete this mission.
Oh, shut up, Horatio. It's Halloween, of course, and a group of trick-or-treating children are heading towards a lone spooky house in the woods. Alicia and the aforementioned Greg are lagging behind, but as they finally reach the house, they find out to their horror all the other children have been turned into stone and have their souls extracted, for this particular house belongs to the Boogeyman. Fleeing this dreadful fate, Alicia and Greg run as fast as they can, but things only get worse when they find themselves in the land of the dead. Our heroes are tasked with collecting their friends' souls and tracking down the Boogeyman. Castleween is your typical 3D action platformer with a few, let's call them, quirks. Some good, some bad, some unintentional, but I'll get onto those. Just as you start, you are confronted by this guy. I don't know, the manual just refers to him as the Goblin. He'll give you useful information along the way. Alicia and Greg have unique abilities, mainly ice and fire respectively. You can switch between the two at any time, providing that you've collected enough magic crystals. Collecting 60, I think, will add another character swap, and collecting 100 will give you another life. Not on top of each other, like you need to get 160 to get one then the other. 60 and then a further 40, it's a bit odd. Greg and Alicia have gone trick-or-treating as a devil and a witch, so naturally their weapons are a pitchfork for Greg, and Alicia has gone the odd job route with hat throwing. This makes character choice, for me, rather easy. Alicia's attack has range and therefore makes for less frustrating combat. But of course the game has further tricks up its sleeve. The fire and ice thing comes in mostly in regards to environment. If you try and use an Alicia in a hot area, she'll burn up. If you use Greg in an icy place, he freezes. Collecting these fairies will allow you to take a hit, but since a lot of the hazards are falling off shit, they're not much used there. And you will fall off shit. A lot. A gripe I've had with 3D platforms for a long time is lack of perspective. Yes, it's a 3D environment, but you're ultimately still seeing a 2D image. Characters will usually have a shadow beneath them, which does help. But when you're jumping high and the platform ahead is right there, are you above it or will you fall short? This can usually be combated with a quick movement of the camera in order to aid depth perception. Castleween has no camera controls. It doesn't misbehave, it moves around fine by itself. For the most part. Side-scrollers don't suffer from this as the distance is plain as day, but being able to judge distance would have been useful, Callisto. There's a right analog stick right there, you know, just saying. The levels, the music and the overall tone have a whimsical Nightmare Before Christmas feel to them. Twisted trees, crooked gothic architecture and grimy industrial interiors. I think that's what Callisto were going for and it works well. If Bayonetta has taught us anything, is that if you rip off something but do a really good job, no one will care. And speaking of, there's one level where you have to run away from a marauding robot, in a Crash Bandicoot towards the camera style. Now if you thought not being able to judge jumping distances was hard enough, try doing it with limited visual range. It's not without its glitches, some even require the reset button. A couple of times I fell through the level and this didn't kill me. Reset! This vampire boss got stuck in a spinning loop. Aha, I thought. Now I can just attack him over and over. Nope, I couldn't hit him. Reset. Give me that. Gimme. Damn it, what the fuck? Give me that. I couldn't get this. For the second time. I managed to somehow get it once, went ahead, jumped on this falling platform, decided to go back because I thought I'd missed something, naively assuming the platform would regenerate, and it didn't. Reset! There are 24 levels in total. I know this because I tried to look up a walkthrough. Realising there were no text walkthroughs, I resorted to looking up a video playthrough, just to give myself a rough idea how long the game is. Then I realised it just gives the level number on the back of the box.
SMRT! I mean SMART!
Anyway, these levels are divided up into 3 areas: the woods, the haunted house, and the laboratory, because the boogeyman isn't the only antagonist. In charge of imprisoning the children's souls is the mad scientist called Mad Scientist. Seriously, Callisto, try harder with the names. So as you go from woods to house to lab, the levels increase in complexity, which goes nicely with the increase in difficulty. It's good to play a game where the difficulty ramps up nice and steadily, instead of suddenly being hit by a brick wall. This is going to sound weird, but this kind of plays like Dark Souls. Nowhere near as difficult or grand in scope, but in how you need to memorise enemy locations, how to negotiate obstacles, and not to mention the soul collecting. If you fail to remember these things, that's where the game gets difficult. There are obviously better offerings in this genre, but Castleween is not bad at all. It's certainly the best wanna-do game I've reviewed so far. This exceeded my expectations. Give it a shot.